Right now, nearly a third of all earners in the UK are not saving a single penny.
Wow. Not a single penny.
Literally zero. They are trading their, long-term survival for short-term signaling.
Right. Buying things they don't even really want.
Exactly. Just to impress people who honestly aren't actually paying attention to them.
It's tragic, really.
It is. So if you are listening to this right now, maybe on your morning commute or while you're folding laundry, just think about that for a second. Think about the sheer amount of human energy being burned just to maintain an illusion.
An exhausting illusion.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are taking a scalpel to the everyday routines, the hidden fears, and, well, the financial sinkholes that dictate our lives.
And we're pulling all of this from a really fascinating source.
Yeah, Nigel Cumberland's book, 100 Things Successful People Do. Specifically, we're working from a massive, highly detailed summary of it by Audiobook 101.
Which is great because it distills everything down.
Right. But listen, if you're expecting the usual productivity noise.
Oh, the hustle culture stuff?
Yeah, the gurus screaming at you to wake up at 3 brawn a.m. or, manifest your destiny, you can leave that at the door.
Thankfully.
We're here to dismantle the whole concept of what success actually looks like on a random Tuesday morning.
Because, we are so deeply conditioned to treat success as this fixed destination.
Right.
Like a finish line. Exactly, like a set of coordinates you just punch into your GPS. We tell ourselves that success is landing a very specific promotion.
Or seeing a certain number on the scale.
Right. Or finally buying a house in that one specific zip code. But the material we are unpacking today, it forces a complete paradigm shift.
How so?
Well, it defines success not as a finish line you cross and then just, retire. It defines it as a highly personalized daily practice.
A daily practice.
Yeah. It's an ecosystem. Yeah. It's this meticulous and often really uncomfortable process of adopting healthy mechanisms while deliberately starving your bad habits.
I love that. The ecosystem concept, because that's what makes this actually actionable. If we look at the overarching thesis of this material, it's arguing that you cannot isolate your career from your psychology.
No, not at all.
Or your bank account from your childhood trauma, right?
Yeah.
You can't expect to thrive in a high-pressure job if your personal boundaries at home are constantly collapsing.
They bleed into each other.
Always.
Yeah.
You can't build any sort of lasting financial wealth if you are emotionally chained to past grievances and using retail therapy to cope.
Right. Buying those things to soothe the pain.
Exactly. Every single part of your life feeds the other parts. If the soil in your personal life is toxic, the professional tree is not going to grow.
No matter how much you water the leaves.
Exactly.
So to build a functional ecosystem, we have to start at the very center, right? We have to examine the actual engine driving the entire machine.
Okay, the engine.
And doing this requires a fundamental redefinition of the word practical.
Oh, man. We have such a societal obsession with practicality.
We really do. We are warned constantly, usually by, well-meaning parents or mentors, to abandon our grand ambitions for a more practical path.
Right. Be realistic.
Pay the bills, get a reliable pension. The logic seems sound, but walking this supposed practical path often results in a deeply mundane life.
Just going through the motions.
Exactly. A life devoid of excitement, devoid of genuine happiness. And crucially, it lacks the intrinsic motivation required to sustain any real long-term effort.
So the thing that actually makes you feel alive.
It isn't just a luxury, it is the fuel. It's the only force strong enough to push you out of your comfort zone and encourage the kind of risk-taking that actual growth demands.
Okay, I have to push back on this right out of the gate.
Go for it.
When I hear phrases like follow your passion or, chase your dream, my immediate cynical reaction is that it sounds like a bumper sticker.
It does sound a bit cliche, sure.
Right. It feels like terrible advice to give someone who has rent due in 3 days. Practicality keeps a roof over your head.
That's the counter-argument, yes.
So how do we reconcile the very real, immediate need for survival with this idea that being practical is a trap?
Wow.
Let's try an analogy. Choosing the purely practical path just for the illusion of safety, it feels a bit like walking on a treadmill.
Oh, I like that.
You are technically moving. You're sweating, your heart rate is up, you are putting in a massive amount of effort every single day at the office.
But you aren't actually going anywhere meaningful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Step off the treadmill at 5:00 p.m. in the exact same room you started in.
The treadmill captures the specific exhaustion of the practical path beautifully. You're burning calories but making zero forward progress.
Right. But what about the rent?
Right. To answer your pushback about paying the rent, we have to dig into the psychology of motivation.
Okay.
The practical path is very often just a socially acceptable way of living your life according to other people's expectations.
Ah, so it's performative.
Exactly. You are fulfilling a role that society has deemed correct. But fulfilling expectations only brings temporary relief from criticism.
It doesn't bring actual fulfillment.
No. The text uses Steve Jobs to illustrate the mechanics of this risk.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, think about the cultural landscape of the 1970s. The pressure to get a safe corporate job was immense.
Yeah, the IBM era.
Right. If Jobs had yielded to the consensus of what made sense, if he had stayed in school, graduated like a normal student, and taken a comfortable entry-level job at an established firm.
We wouldn't have Apple.
Exactly. He never would have created the leading tech company in the world.
So identifying the dream isn't about, quitting your job tomorrow to become a poet when you have zero savings.
No, not at all.
It's about locating your actual source of motivation.
Yes, it's about the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation.
Break that down for us.
Okay, so extrinsic motivation is doing something strictly for the paycheck or for the approval of your peers.
The treadmill.
The treadmill. It's a shallow fuel source.
Yeah.
It burns dirty and it burns fast. Intrinsic motivation, on the other hand, doing something because the act itself matters to you deeply, that is a sustainable, deep well energy source.
Right.
Because the road to any form of success is brutally hard. It is filled with rejection.
Constantly.
If you are operating entirely on extrinsic motivation, the first major obstacle will absolutely break your resolve.
You'll just quit.
Because why suffer if you don't actually care about the outcome? So the source material is asking us to identify what made us happy as children. What makes us feel engaged and alive right now?
And start formulating a structural plan around that reality.
Exactly.
Okay, but if you are listening to this right now and you are staring down a massive life choice, maybe a career pivot or, moving to a new city, how do you extrapolate this?
It's tough.
Because the material points out that there is absolutely no decision you can make in life without assuming some level of risk.
Every choice has a risk.
So how do you actually weigh the risks of stepping off the practical treadmill?
Well, it requires a level of self-interrogation that most people actively avoid.
Because it's scary.
Terribly scary. You have to evaluate the risk of action against the risk of inaction.
Right.
Yes, leaving the practical path carries tangible risks. Potential financial strain, public failure, utter uncertainty.
All the things that keep us up at night.
Exactly. But you must weigh those terrifying possibilities against the guaranteed outcome of staying on the treadmill.
Which is what?
A life devoid of excitement, heavily burdened by regret, and completely lacking in genuine engagement.
Wow. Guaranteed regret.
You have to look at your intrinsic dream and ask yourself if the psychological reward of simply attempting it is worth the discomfort of the potential fall.
And that discomfort is severe. The fear of taking that gamble is paralyzing for almost all of us.
It really is.
But why? I mean, we could sit here and logically map out the risks, but the terror we feel isn't logical.
No, it's deeply emotional.
The text pivots beautifully here, I think, to explain the root of that terror. It is the audience in our heads.
Yes, the phantom audience.
Right. The moment we step off that safe, practical treadmill, we suddenly feel like the music has stopped, the lights have come up, and everyone in the room has turned to stare at us.
Just waiting for us to fail.
Just waiting for us to make a fool of ourselves.
We are transitioning into the fundamental barrier to any kind of success here, which is conquering the fear of failure.
Right.
Which, when you really look at it, is actually just the fear of judgment.
Fear of what people will say.
Exactly. The source material highlights that people avoid necessary risks because they fear failing, which leads them to retreat into the safety of their known comfort zones.
Makes sense.
But the root of this avoidance isn't an inability to handle the mechanics of failure itself.
Wait, what do you mean by the mechanics?
Like, if you attempt to code a piece of software and it crashes, or you try to bake a loaf of bread and it burns,
Okay.
you are perfectly capable of logically figuring out what went wrong and trying again. The actual failure isn't the problem.
Right. You just adjust the recipe.
Exactly. The real paralyzing fear is the fear of the social consequences. It is the fear of what your peers, your family, or, strangers on the internet will say when the software crashes.
The harsh truth delivered by the text is like a bucket of ice water here.
It really is.
It states flatly, people pay much less attention to you than you think.
Much less.
Everyone is way too busy agonizing over their own lives, their own failures, and their own insecurities to obsess over yours.
It's the spotlight effect.
The spotlight effect. We walk through life with this cognitive bias, convinced there is a massive theatrical spotlight shining directly on our every single flaw.
But the theater is empty.
Right. But how do we actually internalize this reality? Because knowing it logically is one thing. How do we turn off that relentless criticizing voice in our head?
Well, you start by recognizing the profound, almost terrifying freedom that comes from realizing the theater is empty.
It's a little sad at first, isn't it?
It feels vaguely insulting. Our egos desperately want to believe that our big moments or our big failures are universally significant.
Right, we want to be the main character.
Exactly. But realizing no one is actually watching is the ultimate liberation. The text points out that people who lack confidence spend enormous amounts of energy doing things simply to please others.
Performing for that empty room.
Yes. They are performing a play for an audience that isn't paying attention. We need to redefine confidence based on this reality.
How does the text define it?
Confidence is not the act of walking into a boardroom, scanning the faces, and deciding you are the smartest or best-looking person there.
That just sounds like arrogance.
It is arrogance. Arrogance built on comparison. True confidence is trusting your own internal baseline.
Internal baseline.
It is being satisfied with your abilities regardless of external validation.
But building that internal baseline is incredibly difficult when you feel completely inadequate.
Oh, absolutely.
And the source material offers a specific mechanism for doing this, which is the classic fake it till you make it strategy.
Yes, it does.
It says to act confident even when you don't feel it, and eventually your mind will catch up and believe it. Now hold on. I have to call this out.
I knew you would.
Fake it till you make it. Sounds like a recipe for massive imposter syndrome. Doesn't that just encourage us to be fraudulent? Doesn't it amplify the fear of being found out?
If interpreted as lying about your qualifications, yes, it would be disastrous. You shouldn't fake being a surgeon, obviously.
Yeah, definitely don't do that.
But the text is talking about embodied cognition. It's about breaking psychological feedback loops.
Okay, break that down. Embodied cognition.
Your brain is not a disconnected computer. It is constantly taking physical cues from your body to determine how it should assess a situation.
Okay.
If you walk into a room with your shoulders hunched, avoiding eye contact, taking shallow breaths...
Your brain thinks you're in danger.
Exactly. It interprets those physical actions as a response to a threat. It releases stress hormones like cortisol, which clouds your thinking and makes you feel even more terrified.
A vicious cycle.
It is. But by consciously choosing to stand tall, speak at a measured pace, and force the physical actions of a confident person, you introduce a new variable into the feedback loop.
You're hacking the system.
You are. You are not deceiving others about your skills. You are signaling to your own nervous system that you are safe.
Wow.
And when you successfully navigate the interaction without collapsing, your brain logs that survival as a data point.
Oh, I didn't die.
Exactly. Over time, that conscious pretense transforms into genuine, deeply rooted self-trust.
The text also points us toward the biographies of famous entrepreneurs, right? People who built massive empires through relentless trial and error.
Yes, the source relies heavily on this.
It emphasizes that failure is a far better teacher than traditional schooling. And that makes perfect sense when you look at the structure of education. Well, school is designed to penalize mistakes. You take a test, you get a question wrong, your grade drops, you are punished.
Right.
But reality actually requires mistakes in order to function.
That's a profound distinction. School teaches you to optimize for the known. Reality requires you to navigate the unknown.
Exactly.
When you study the actual trajectories of highly successful people, you realize their path was never a linear upward curve.
Never.
It was a chaotic zigzag of spectacular, often embarrassing failures. Normalizing failure as a necessary data-gathering exercise, rather than a devastating reflection of your character that completely alters your relationship with risk.
A failure just means a hypothesis was incorrect.
That's all it means. It means you now have more information than you did yesterday.
So we are repairing the internal compass. We're ignoring the phantom audience, treating failure as data, and generating our own internal confidence.
Setting the foundation.
But the ecosystem gets significantly more complicated here, because the source material flips the entire premise. We don't just have to stop caring about what other people think of our failures. We have to violently stop caring about what they think of our successes.
This is where it gets really challenging for a lot of people.
Specifically, the tangible, physical things we buy to prove to that phantom audience that we have finally made it.
We are shifting from mental clutter to physical and financial clutter now. The source draws a stark, unyielding line between the illusion of wealth and actual sustainable success.
The illusion of wealth.
Right. The behavioral pattern is undeniable. People routinely buy incredibly expensive items, luxury vehicles, designer clothing, high-end watches.
Things they don't really need.
And not because those items bring them deep intrinsic joy, but purely to broadcast a signal of wealth to others.
Look at me, I'm successful.
Exactly. And the tragic paradox of this behavior is that the act of signaling wealth actively destroys their ability to build actual wealth.
Which brings us back to that terrifying statistic from the UK.
The 31%.
Yeah, approximately 31% of earners do not save any money. They spend everything they earn on temporary pleasures and depreciating assets.
It's alarming.
They are trading decades of future security for a momentary hit of social validation today.
Yes.
Think of the ecosystem we are building. You're running a marathon. You want to reach financial independence. But instead of running light, you pick up a set of massive, solid gold dumbbells to carry with you.
Oh, the marathon analogy. Perfect.
Right. You look incredibly strong and successful to the people watching at the starting line. But those golden weights are exactly what's destroying your joints, exhausting your energy, and guaranteeing you will never actually reach the finish line.
That perfectly illustrates the self-sabotage of conspicuous consumption. You are burning your endurance, your actual life energy, to impress spectators who will forget you existed 5 minutes after you run past them.
They really will.
The source insists we differentiate between appearing rich and being wealthy.
Okay, what's the difference?
Appearing rich is an aesthetic. It is driving a leased luxury car while drowning in high-interest debt.
Right, it's a facade.
Being wealthy is invisible.
Invisible?
Yes. It is having liquid capital for emergencies. It is having investments compounding in the background. It is the financial independence to walk away from a toxic job without panicking about next month's rent.
That's actual freedom.
Exactly. The danger of the instant gratification highlighted by that 31% statistic is that it turns you into an indentured servant to your own lifestyle.
You're trapped by your stuff.
You become completely reliant on your next paycheck, which strips away your autonomy.
So the text offers actionable steps to combat this, and they are aggressively minimalist.
Very aggressive.
It says to sort through your belongings and ruthlessly purge what you don't need. It even provides a baseline that completely stopped me in my tracks when I read it.
The clothing rule.
Yes, it suggests that a person can manage perfectly well with 1 pair of shoes, 3 shirts, and a few pairs of pants.
3 shirts.
Now, I have to challenge this. A CEO cannot walk into a board meeting in the same wrinkled shirt 4 days a week.
No, probably not.
Is the 3 shirts rule meant to be a literal instruction for the listener? Or is the author proposing a radical thought experiment to shock our system out of its default consumerism?
It functions as a powerful heuristic, a mental shortcut that helps you bypass your normal automated decision-making process.
Okay.
While extreme minimalists might adopt the 3-shirt rule literally within the context of this text, it is designed to aggressively interrupt the pattern of mindless accumulation.
It's a shock tactic.
It forces you to realize the vast canyon between what you want and what you actually need to function effectively.
Right.
By clearing out the physical clutter, you are doing much more than organizing a closet. You are reclaiming cognitive bandwidth.
Bandwidth, right.
Every single physical item you own demands a fraction of your attention. You have to clean it, store it, insure it, repair it, and worry about losing it.
The golden dumbbells.
Exactly. When you actively choose to stop acquiring things just to impress an empty theater, you suddenly free up a massive amount of both financial capital and mental energy.
And what do you do with that energy?
You can redirect it toward investing, saving, and plotting your long-term goals. If your goal is to retire in 10 years, you have to fund that future reality, not finance a costume of wealth today.
Money and attention are finite resources. Every dollar spent on a signal is a dollar stolen from your future freedom.
Perfectly said.
But the clutter in our ecosystem isn't just physical objects taking up space in our homes. We also accumulate a massive amount of emotional and social clutter that invisibly drains our energy every single day.
Oh, the social clutter is the worst part.
The text argues that we have to perform a ruthless social detox.
Yes. This section addresses the human environment we operate within, and it begins with the purely internal, often painful act of forgiveness.
Forgiveness, that's a heavy word.
It is. The text posits that refusing to forgive others actively traps you in the past. It locks your neurology into an endless, repeating cycle of anger, jealousy, and bitterness.
Just replaying it over and over.
The phrasing is vital here. Holding on to a grievance is essentially punishing yourself for someone else's mistake.
You know, I picture it exactly like a smartphone.
Okay, how so?
You have a massive, memory-heavy app open in the background. You aren't actively looking at the app, you aren't engaging with it, but it is running silently in the background, consuming processing power, and quietly draining your battery down to zero.
Oh, that's a brilliant way to look at it.
You wake up, you try to focus on your goals, and you wonder why you are exhausted by noon. It's because 40% of your cognitive battery is being burned to maintain a historical anger against a former boss or a terrible ex.
That is the literal biological reality of cognitive load.
It's actual science.
Yes. When you harbor deep resentment, your amygdala, the threat detection center of the brain, remains hyperactive.
It thinks you're still in danger.
You are bathing your nervous system in stress hormones over an event that has already ended.
Wow.
The source emphasizes a critical distinction. Forgiveness is entirely for your sake, not theirs. It is a profoundly selfish act in the best possible sense of the word.
Right, closing the app so your phone works.
Exactly. The text is very clear that forgiving someone does not invalidate the hurt they caused. It does not mean their actions were acceptable. And most importantly, it does not mean you have an obligation to let them back into your life.
It's a huge relief to hear.
The first actionable step recommended is brutal honesty with yourself. You must acknowledge the anger.
Because burying it doesn't work.
Pretending you are perfectly fine when you are secretly seething only suppresses the emotion, causing the battery to drain even faster. You have to drag the emotion into the light to neutralize it.
And this transitions perfectly into dealing with the people who are currently in our lives. Oh. The text states that our immediate surroundings heavily dictate our outcomes.
The ecosystem again?
Right. And that toxic people maintain a consistently negative attitude that acts like gravity, preventing us from moving forward.
Like a black hole.
It gives very relatable examples, too. A friend who constantly lies and creates drama. A parent who subtly puts down your achievements. A colleague who actively tries to undermine you to look better.
We all know these people.
We do. The advice is to stop tolerating the behavior. Learn the absolute necessity of saying no without a shred of guilt, and severely limit interactions, even if those people are blood relatives.
Which is incredibly hard.
It is. But this creates a massive practical conflict in my mind.
Yeah.
How do you balance the internal, peaceful act of forgiving someone with the external, aggressive act of cutting them completely out of your life? Aren't we being hypocritical?
Not at all. They appear contradictory only if you conflate internal peace with external access.
Oh, explain that.
We have to separate forgiveness, which is the internal mechanism of releasing anger to save your own battery, from reconciliation, which is an external choice to grant someone ongoing access to your life. So you can forgive from a distance. You can completely, genuinely forgive someone, meaning you no longer wish them ill, and you no longer lose sleep over their past actions, while simultaneously recognizing that their current behavioral patterns are highly destructive to your ecosystem.
You close the app, but you don't reinstall it.
Beautifully put, yes. The text uses the word toxic very deliberately here.
Because we throw that word around a lot.
We do. We all have friends who have bad weeks, who complain occasionally, or who go through depressive slumps. That is not toxic. That is the normal friction of human relationships.
Right. That's just life.
The source specifies that toxic people exhibit a consistent pattern of negative, destructive behavior. Emphasizing the ability to say no is about boundary management.
Protecting the ecosystem.
You have just done the hard work of clearing your mental bandwidth and protecting your finances. You cannot allow that newly freed up energy to be instantly siphoned away by someone else's manufactured chaos.
Okay, let's do an audit of the ecosystem we've built so far.
Let's do it.
You have located your intrinsic motivation. You've stopped performing for the imaginary audience. You've stopped buying heavy golden dumbbells to look rich.
You're running lighter.
You've closed the background apps of historical anger, and you've built a firewall against toxic people. You have managed your environment.
It's a clean slate.
But how do you sustain the actual physical energy required to do the intense daily work of success?
The endurance piece.
Because the source provides an answer that completely contradicts modern work culture.
Yeah.
It says you have to power down.
This is the mechanics of endurance. We are addressing why the modern concept of the hustle is biologically unsustainable and absolutely requires scheduled pauses.
We live in a culture that fetishizes overwork.
We do. Sleep when you're dead, all of that.
Yeah.
But the source drops in another glaring statistic that exposes the fatal flaw in this mindset. Nearly half of all people in Britain do not take their annual paid leave.
Half. They are literally leaving legally mandated rest on the table.
The text points out the inevitable consequence of this. Workaholics suffer from compounding fatigue, severe anxiety, and eventually they make catastrophic decisions because they have lost all psychological distance from their work.
The source uses a laptop analogy here that is incredibly precise.
Let's hear it.
You buy a high-end laptop. It can run at peak performance, rendering video and crunching data for maybe 8 to 10 hours.
Sure.
You push it to the absolute limit, dim the screen, and shut down essential functions, you might squeeze 12 hours out of it on low power mode.
Barely hanging on.
Exactly. But inevitably, the battery hits zero. The machine must shut down and connect to a power source to recharge.
It's not negotiable.
Humans are exactly the same, yet we treat ourselves worse than our electronics. We pride ourselves on operating in low power mode for 14 hours a day.
We wear it like a badge of honor.
We do. We sit in meetings boasting to our colleagues about how slammed we are, how we only got 4 hours of sleep, and how we work through the weekend.
I'm so busy. I'm so important.
But all that actually means is that our cognitive screen is dim, our processing speed is painfully sluggish, and the quality of the work we are producing is absolute garbage.
Glorifying the hustle is a systemic dysfunction. That 50% paid leave statistic isn't a testament to dedication. It's a symptom of a society that doesn't understand human biology.
We're fighting our own biology.
When you operate continuously in that low-power state, you experience severe decision fatigue.
What happens in the brain there?
Well, the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for complex planning, impulse control, and evaluating risk, it consumes an enormous amount of glucose.
It's an energy hog.
When you don't rest, that energy depletes. Your brain literally loses the capacity to make creative connections or foresee the consequences of an action.
Becomes stupid, basically.
Essentially, yes. The source states unequivocally that breaks are not a luxury for the weak. They are a mechanical necessity for high performance.
The text gives very specific instructions to enforce this mechanical necessity. It highlights the Pomodoro technique.
Yes, very popular.
Working with intense, unbroken focus for 25 minutes, followed by a mandatory, non-negotiable 5-minute break.
And you have to actually take the break.
Right. It explicitly tells you to physically stand up, step away from the desk, and get fresh air. And perhaps the most difficult instruction for modern professionals: total disconnection on weekends and holidays.
No checking emails.
None. No checking emails on Sunday morning. No just taking a quick glance at the company Slack channel while you're at the park with your kids.
The neuroscience supporting the Pomodoro technique is robust. The human brain simply did not evolve to sustain unbroken, hours-long concentration on a single focal point.
We weren't built for spreadsheets.
We weren't. Our ancestors survived by scanning their environment, focusing intensely for short bursts to hunt or solve a problem, and then returning to a state of rest.
So it's an evolutionary rhythm.
By enforcing those 5-minute micro breaks, you are continually resetting your dopamine baseline and preventing the massive buildup of cognitive fatigue.
And what about the weekends? Why total disconnection?
Total disconnection on the weekends serves an even deeper function. When you completely step away from a problem, your brain activates the default mode network.
The default mode network.
Yes, this is the background processing system that synthesizes information and connects disparate ideas.
Ah, the shower thoughts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is why your biggest breakthroughs, the sudden aha moments, almost never happen while you are staring aggressively at a monitor.
Right. They happen when you're doing the dishes.
They happen while you are in the shower or walking the dog, entirely disconnected from the source of the stress.
So you have to protect the machine to keep the machine running.
Exactly.
So we have managed our energy. We are well rested. We are deaf to the critics. We are fueled by our intrinsic dreams.
We are ready.
Now we have to actually step onto the path and walk. How do we navigate the sheer unpredictability of the real world? Do we sit down and map out every single inch of the journey for the next 10 years? Or do we just wing it and trust our instincts?
We have arrived at the navigation system of success.
The navigation system.
This is about balancing the terrifying tension between leaving your comfort zone and creating a highly functional plan.
Okay.
The text reminds us of a foundational truth. Success is completely synonymous with growth. And growth fundamentally requires losing something.
Losing what?
Specifically, you must lose the safety of the known.
Ouch.
Human beings are biologically wired to hate change. The text uses a stark, visceral example to illustrate this. People routinely stay in highly destructive, bad relationships simply because they are accustomed to the dynamics.
The devil you know.
Exactly. The fear of the absolute unknown is perceived as a greater threat than the predictable misery of the known.
That bad relationship metaphor is devastating because it applies to every facet of the ecosystem. Think about your own life right now. People stay in bad relationship careers, commuting 2 hours a day to a job they despise.
All the time.
They maintain bad friendships with people who drain them. They even stay in bad relationship daily habits, scrolling on their phones until 2:20 a.m. just because it is the routine they know.
It's familiar.
The familiar misery feels warm and safe, while the unfamiliar potential feels like stepping off a cliff in the dark.
Which is precisely why you need a concrete strategy to bridge the gap.
The plan.
The source contrasts two distinct behavioral types here: planners and spontaneous individuals.
Okay, what's the difference?
Planners are highly structured and meticulously prepared, but they become rigid, panicked, and deeply frustrated when reality inevitably deviates from their spreadsheet.
I feel attacked. That's definitely me.
Spontaneous people, on the other hand, are incredibly agile and great at seizing sudden, unexpected opportunities. But when a genuine crisis hits, they lack the foundational preparation to survive the impact.
They just wash away in the storm.
The text argues that the ecosystem of success requires a hybrid approach. You must integrate the strengths of both.
The actionable steps for this hybrid approach are very structured in the text. You set clear, definitive, short, and long-term goals.
Check.
You engage in daily planning, listing your tasks, and actively allocating time blocks to them. Crucially, you create contingency plans.
The backup plans.
Which simply means asking the uncomfortable question. What is the absolute worst thing that could happen today, and how exactly would I fix it?
Right.
But you also have to remain flexible enough to grab unexpected opportunities.
Yeah.
Now, I will admit, as I said, I lean heavily toward over-planning.
The spreadsheet type.
I love my schedule. If a meeting gets moved or a project derails, my first physiological instinct is to panic.
The heart rate spikes.
It does. How do people like me actively practice spontaneity without feeling like we have let go of the steering wheel and are crashing the car?
You have to fundamentally reframe your definition of what a plan is actually for.
Okay, tell me.
A plan is not a crystal ball. It is not designed to predict the future with 100% accuracy because the future is highly volatile.
It's impossible to predict.
A plan is designed to create a secure, unshakable baseline. Think of a master jazz musician.
A jazz musician, okay.
A jazz musician can improvise wildly, reacting to the mood of the room and the notes of the other players because they have spent 10,000 hours meticulously mastering the scales, the chord progressions, and the underlying theory of music.
They know the rules so they can break them.
Exactly. The plan is your musical scale. If you have executed your daily planning, if your finances are in order, and you know what your contingency plans are, you have built a massive safety net.
Okay, I'm starting to see it.
Therefore, when a completely unexpected opportunity arises or a sudden crisis hits, your spontaneity is grounded in deep strategic preparation rather than chaotic panic.
So you're not just winging it.
No. You know you can safely deviate from the path to explore the woods because you have a map in your pocket showing you exactly how to find your way back to the road.
That is a phenomenal way to look at it. It is a constant daily calibration. You are planning the week, pivoting when the market changes, remembering to shut down the laptop.
Actively processing forgiveness.
Pushing through the phantom audience's judgment. It is a tremendous, sometimes overwhelming amount of daily maintenance.
It's hard work.
It is a living ecosystem. But the source material leaves us with a final, undeniable reminder of exactly why we must do this exhausting work right now, today, instead of putting it off until next year.
Yes. The text calls for a final audit of our lives. It asks us to look all the way to the end of the journey.
The very end.
It observes a universal human truth. People very often leave this world filled with deep, lingering regrets.
That's the scariest part of all this.
And the great tragedy is that these regrets are almost never about massive, insurmountable failures. People don't lie on their deathbeds regretting that they didn't solve cold fusion or become a billionaire.
Right.
They regret the incredibly simple things they could have easily executed in their daily lives, but chose to postpone out of fear or laziness.
We regret the missed opportunities we were too scared to take. We regret the unspoken love we were too awkward to express. We regret the unresolved conflicts we were too proud to fix. The actionable steps the text provides here are incredibly simple to understand, yet phenomenally difficult for us to execute in the friction of the moment.
Simple, but not easy.
Right. It says to speak what is actually in your heart. Take the uncomfortable risk to approach people you don't get along with and apologize for your part in the mess.
Swallow the pride.
Show genuine gratitude to the people holding your ecosystem together. Prioritize your relationships over the endless, exhausting pursuit of buying more things.
The source offers a final, razor-sharp litmus test for all decision-making here.
What is it?
If you are standing at a crossroads, paralyzed by doubt about whether to do something, whether that means launching the risky business, taking the year-long trip, or just picking up the phone to apologize to a friend after 5 years of silence,
Yeah.
ask yourself one question. Will I regret it in the future if I let this specific opportunity slip by?
Wow. That reframes everything.
It clarifies the noise.
The ultimate compass for decision-making isn't asking what will make me the most successful or what will make me the most money or what will impress my neighbors the most.
No.
The compass is asking, what will I regret not doing? If you actively optimize your daily life to systematically minimize your future regret, you will almost automatically end up on the path to genuine, personalized success.
It is the profound simplicity of that final metric. Success is a long, often grueling, incredibly rewarding journey. It requires immense amounts of hard work and resilience.
And rest.
But the true, ultimate measure of whether that journey was successful is the total absence of regret at the end of it.
That's the real finish line.
You do not want to spend decades climbing to the very top of a mountain, sacrificing your energy and your peace, only to look around and realize you climbed the completely wrong mountain.
Or that you alienated and abandoned everyone you loved along the way.
Exactly. The source is explicitly imploring the reader to regularly reflect on their trajectory and to act now.
Not tomorrow.
Do not wait for the perfect moment to execute your business plan. Do not wait for the perfect moment to apologize to your brother. Do not wait for the perfect moment to finally take a break and rest.
Because it doesn't exist.
The perfect moment is a myth generated by your fear. It will never arrive. Action must happen in the imperfect present.
When we look back at the entire ecosystem we have mapped out today, the overarching message cuts right through all that noise we talked about at the beginning.
It really does.
Success is absolutely not an overnight achievement. It isn't a lottery ticket you scratch off, and it isn't a status you buy with a luxury car.
No.
It is the deliberate, daily practice of fueling yourself with your intrinsic dreams. It is actively, repeatedly choosing to ignore the paralyzing fear of judgment from an audience that is too busy looking at their own phones to watch you.
The empty theater.
It is fiercely protecting your physical bandwidth and your financial security by ignoring the urge to buy things just to show off.
Dropping the golden dumbbells.
It is ruthlessly pruning toxic influences and forgiving past hurts so you stop draining your own battery.
Yeah.
And it is building a solid enough plan that you can stay flexible and pivot without panicking when the world inevitably changes the rules.
It is the total cultivation of that entire interconnected ecosystem. Every part relies on the others.
It's all connected.
And to leave the listener with a final, lingering thought that builds on the foundation we've unpacked today.
Oh, lay it on us.
We have spent this entire deep dive talking about the absolute necessity of pruning away toxic people, clearing out excess possessions, and silencing the critics to clear a wide-open path to your dreams.
Right.
But I want to propose a deeper challenge. What if the most insidious hidden thing holding you back right now is actually an outdated version of your own dream?
Oh, wow.
I want you to look closely at the primary goal you are working toward today and ask yourself with brutal honesty. Are you pouring your life energy into this path because it genuinely makes you feel alive today? Or are you just too stubborn to let go of the practical dream you committed to 10 years ago?
That is a question that requires some serious silence to answer.
It certainly does.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. I highly encourage you to take a hard look at the ecosystem you are currently living in. Maybe take a real device-free break today.
Step off the treadmill.
Step off the treadmill for just an hour. Let your brain reset and start the quiet work of redesigning your daily habits. We will catch you next time.